Hi, welcome everybody to another episode of Building Site. I'm Malcolm Sparks. This is Alex Davis. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
And Alex is going to show me how we're going to work on Graph IQL today and set up a Graph IQL browser or console. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, we've had a bit of GraphQL working, so we just want to show what the Graph IQL browser looks like. I don't think we've shown this on Building Site before, so this will be new. So I'm going to start with showing my screen. I've just got a terminal up here, and we have an optional directory with various optional things that can go into the site, and then we're looking in this Graph IQL directory. Again, if you want to have a look and play along, the URL here is github/juxt/site. So, hi Alex, you've been working on this recently, and we're going to do a little bit of work in creating a README. We've got a bunch of files here. Should we just go through them and explain what they do?
Sure. So most of these files were just generated by the Create React App tool, which is really just a template for single-page React applications. Keeps the amount of config as simple as possible, with the idea that for 90% of projects, they all use the same sort of config anyway. So if you need to do anything complicated, you have to sort of eject from the process, and then you get all the Webpack configuration and stuff to play with. But for 90% of use cases, including this one, we just want it to be as simple as possible. We just want a way to write React code and then have it be bundled up in some way. So this top level folder, we've got a few files for the Typescript configuration that has been generated. So this graphiql.d.ts and the tsconfig.json. I just set up for that, and no real reason why that's being used. To be honest, could have just used JavaScript, but in my experience, you sometimes need or you want to just use one of the TypeScript language features like the optional chaining or something, and then it's a pain to go to TypeScript. So I prefer just to sort of start with it, and you can always ignore the typing bits itself. So all the code will be in source, and because this is a React application, uses the node modules. So we have the package.json and the yarn.lock for managing those dependencies and scripts. There's a gulp file, which is just for combining the build output into one index.html file. So because to deploy things onto site, we have to post individual files. If we didn't combine them into index.html, we would need to have like 4 or 5 different put asset calls with each of the CSS and the JavaScript and the index.html. And every time you add like a new file, you then have to update the deploy thing, and you'd have to change a few different things. Whereas with this, gulp just takes the entire build folder and combines it all into an index.html by inlining the style sheets and scripts into HTML tags.
Oh,
So that's just for convenience, really, for deploying things to site, because it keeps things into one file and just makes that setup a lot easier. And then we've got a few files like resources.eden, schema.graphql, and the Makefile, which are for site. So the Makefile is really just for deploying things to site. If you look inside it, there's just a couple of steps. One for building the HTML bundle and then uploading it into site so that it will be live. In a normal React app, I guess you would tend to deploy it with some Git integration and use Netlify or something, and you'd point the static folder or the target folder or whatever the output folder is, and then that would just serve that folder. But the way that site works, we want to put assets into it, so it's a little bit different. That's why we have that Makefile for deploying it. But it does mean that deploys are pretty much instant. They just take as long as it takes to put that index.html into site. So you don't have to wait for any build tools to run other than, on your local machine, which will always be faster than running them in CI anyway. But then you could easily have this Makefile be run in a CI step if you wanted to. And then there's that introspect step, which I don't really know what it does. Maybe you can tell.
Yeah, well, that was really a throwing. In fact, I need to just pull out that. Here we are. We have a file called Graph Iql Introspection query, and what this does is it's the same query that the GraphiQL browser fires at any GraphQL endpoint to ascertain its type, system, and metadata. So this is what and so it's a good test to see that it works and doesn't come up with an error. So that was really a debugging thing for me. Just it's a good test that you've got everything working on the GraphQL side. So Alex, this index at the top level, you think this can be deleted?
Yeah, we can delete that. That was just the previous one. Actually, it's kind of useful to see it because that's the original way that you did things, which I guess is sort of the manual way.
Right.
So you're like actually handwriting the CSS and then adding those script tags to import React and React DOM, and then writing that GraphQL fetcher and stuff inline, and then using create element because I guess you can't use JSX in here without like a Babel import as well.
Yeah. Let's call that old index just so we've got it around, but we might delete that.
I think didn't you already delete it?
Well, I did. I undeleted it. But okay, let's delete it.
How did you undelete it?
Oh, I just saved it from my Emacs buffer.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If we look in the source folder, though, we can see the new project. So again, the d.ts file can just be totally ignored. Really, we just have index.css, index.tsx, which are sort of that's the styles that was inlined before, and then in index.tsx we just have like a very simple import the CSS and then render the app component into the root element. So just standard stuff there. Could actually get rid of that import React thing. It's not necessary anymore. But anyway, there's all of the actual logic is in app .tsx.
Okay.
So you can see using Graph Iql Explorer requires quite a bit more logic than just the normal GraphiQL console, which is the only reason really why I moved it to be a create React app. I would have left it as you had it before, but you needed to have quite a lot of logic in here, and it's nice when you have like hot code reloading and you can test things like that. So GraphiQL itself is just a component that you import and then you return and you give it a fetcher. So that was already existing before, and this GraphQL fetcher is basically an exact copy of what was there before. That hasn't really changed. What has changed is this GraphiQL Explorer component, which takes schema, the query, and then some other props that I guess are less important. And the schema has to be fetched by doing that introspection query, I guess pretty similar to what you showed before.
So
So
should we build it? What's the first build step?
yeah, so first you'll want to install all of the dependencies. So can you just check the package.json just to check that everything
Yeah,
is in there?
we can.
Yeah, so I think you're going to want, just because I didn't add all the dependencies, if you do in the terminal yarn add GraphiQL,
Was it GraphQL, wasn't it?
both, you want both GraphiQL and GraphQL.
Oh,
Add, oh, right, you don't have yarn.
not on this machine, but I could probably get it. 1 second. Okay, now I've got it.
Okay. Yeah, I obviously have those globally for some reason, so that's why it wasn't breaking.
Right.
But yeah, you should not have to do this if you are playing along at home. This will add it to the package JSON, and then the next step, which is just to run yarn by itself.
What does that do, Alex?
So that's the same as npm install. I guess it's already done. So now you can run yarn start,
I'm
which
going to
will
put a note in there in the README, or in the opt Graph Iql README, just so we can explain that, I suppose we can say development steps. You should just run, you're saying that we should just run yarn on its own.
to install. Yeah, the first time you clone.
Store npm packages, and then you're saying that now you can build it, build the index.html, is it?
So there's two commands. There's yarn start and yarn build. Yarn start is for development mode, which is if you want to actually, play with the GraphiQL app. So if you wanted to add like a code generation thing or other plugins, and you want the hot code reloading server to be set up. And then there's yarn build, which is for actually generating the static output.
So this is in steps to install GraphiQL, and then this is the development steps to develop the GraphiQL console. So this is very much kind of the yarn start. So should we do the yarn build and make sure that works?
Yep.
And you can talk us through what's happening.
So build is just generating a production React build. So it's the same as shadow release app from ClojureScript world, and it outputs I think it's called a public folder, which will have.
Okay. Did we say this outputs files into the public folder? Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah, if you see there, it says files built. There's a few chunks because Create React App by default does automatic code splitting.
Right.
And it will chunk those CSS and JS files into different bits so that if you had multiple pages, you would load them efficiently rather than loading everything on the first page. But we then kind of ruin all of that by doing the gulp step, which is npx gulp.
Okay. And what does this do again, Alex?
So this takes all of those JS chunks and CSS chunks, and it puts them into the public index.html file inline so that we can run the whole thing with just one file.
Okay. So we'll call that bundle the output files together into index. Is it under public index.html, and that's done with?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. I think this is, and then we should see then out. Is it the output? Oh, public. And then this is the result. Is that?
Maybe it went somewhere else. Can you check the gulp file again? I've forgotten.
So, the gulp.
Pop up.
It's going to build. Is it? Looks like it's going to build there, Alex. Looks like that's
Okay.
Okay, so we need to say in the README that into build. I think that makes sense. Okay, and now having got that file, we then need to deploy it, and you deploy it in the same way. I see you've updated the deploy in the Makefile, so we should then now be able to. I kind of think that we can dispense with the Makefile. Sometimes they're very useful, but if you want to understand the process, it's quite nice to be able to do the steps manually. And explain them individually. But anyway, deploy the GraphiQL console. Is it called a browser? Is it or to?
Not sure.
Select. Okay. I'll call it an application. It's definitely one of those. And then we can do that with just this. Here we are. So I will do my we'll do it in prod, shall we? Go straight into prod now. So I will say site get open. Type in my password and go into, and then I will do this put asset. So this is going to put the index over GraphiQL. Okay, that's up there. So now if we go to home jux.site and we log in, I can't remember what my password is. So site. I think it's that. Oh dear. I'll clear that up. Oh, well, that isn't the right password anyway. What is the right password? I just need to have a look at it. So if you wanting to know, in my, I can say, it's home prod. That's where it's going to look. Okay, so I can say, give me home prod and then mal, and then I see that. So the security breach, Alex, has been fixed. There we are. I'm logged in. So that now means that I should be able to go to this path here, graph/GraphQL, and see, or rather in GraphiQL/index.html, which is this asset here. Okay. Wow. Very, very good. Okay. And so now.
So that default query where it says "Welcome to GraphiQL" and all that sort of comment text.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing you can edit with the props that you pass to the GraphiQL React component.
Oh, really?
So you can add like your own default queries. You can add built-in queries. So if you wanted to have like a get all holidays and like these buttons that you press to automatically fill in popular queries, you can do all that sort of thing by developing this app.
Right. Okay. Maybe we can have a play it changing this message. We could say "Welcome to site" or something.
Yeah.
We should be able to see this sort of type head. This is what I'm used to, and should be able to say, well, let's get everybody's ID. I guess we can. We can do that, and then we get a whole bunch of IDs here. People in Juxt, and now we can. Let's see what their emails are, and let's see what their holidays are. I didn't type it right.
No, I don't think you can join on that yet.
You can't join on that yet because that's missing functionality. I was going to show you, Alex, while we move towards I think I'm up to date. It's just going to show you a test that I'm working on, just to give you a sense of developing the there's quite a few missing features in GraphQL that we need to develop, but there's a bit that's missing from the grab library, but there's also bits that are missing from the glue between site and the GraphQL. So what I've been working on over lunchtime is this little test here. There's this little test right here. So I've got a little function here that puts me and you in to a empty XT database. So this is all we need to do to what the fixture does is start a new version of site, a new node. We kind of set up a handler. We don't actually need that one. And then I'm going to put me and you in there, Alex, and then we're going to do this all users ID name. Now, we pull out this site schema. This doesn't have holidays, but there is quite a lot of data that's in site. You know, all the users and roles and passwords and that sort of stuff, the things that we use OpenAPI, the site API, to populate. So there's still some juicy data in here that we could arguably make available over GraphQL. And to that end, I put the beginnings of a little GraphQL schema. This is going to access the same data as the OpenAPI Swagger, but it's the GraphQL way of doing it. At the moment, I've only got this concept of a user, but there'll be roles as well. So we could have roles have an ID and a name. So that would be. I think it's. Not sure, and I could ask my. Yeah, here we are. Like we have something like super user. So you have a name for a role. That's all, and a description as well. Put the description in here. And I think there is something called a user role mapping. This is the thing that binds. I think it's called the thing that. Yeah, here we are. So on my system, the thing that makes me a super user is the existence of this little document here. So potentially we can say, well, Mal, what roles has he got, and what are the role names that he has, and we can do that through a join. But anyway, let's pop that in there. Just wanted to put that site schema in. But I'm writing a test, so just to see, I'm going to load up the site schema, parse it or compile it, then create a little query, compile that query document, so any errors in the document will kind of be revealed there, and then do this GraphQL query here, which is testing this field resolver. This is the interface between GraphQL and XT. Okay, so if I run that, you can see I've got a nice result there. If I say, oh, let's have emails as well. So it's rather nice because in that split second it starts up a new Crux node, populates it with data from scratch, brings in the official schema, compiles that. So it's rather a quick way of testing that we've got the functionality. You can go through the HTTP stuff, but of course going through the HTTP, which is definitely an integration test, but it's more involved because you have to start creating ring request bodies and count how many bytes there are, and otherwise you remember you get that 411. So anyway, this is I guess you could call it a unit test, and the thing above is the integration test. But anyway, that was just a by the way, and as we bring in more features. So this is the Graph Iql Explorer. Do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's just what you were doing before, except you don't actually have to write things, and you can see at a glance all of the things that you have access to. So if you actually delete all of that, then another thing you can do is that on the left you see there's an add new query box at the bottom.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
So if you press the plus button next to it,
Yeah. Oh,
then you can add multiple queries. And so if you have the first one do, I don't know, all holidays and the description or something,
okay.
and the second one gets some users.
And the second one gets some users. All right. I've got some users.
No, that's still the first query.
Ah.
No, you see there's
Oh, I
others there.
see. Right here.
Yeah,
Okay. So I can do holidays. The first one.
yeah.
Okay. And then we can fire this off.
Yeah, so now you get to choose which one you execute.
So let's go and do it.
You can name them different things. Okay, but apparently it's broken.
Well, I think this is my error, to be honest. I think this is trying to execute all of them, maybe.
Don't think so. You can check the network tab to see what it's doing.
Error fetching internal server error. Oh, well, that's certainly.
Yeah, but I'd be interested to see what it's doing different in the query if you see what the request is.
Yeah, okay, we can have a look at that. We can have a look at that request.
If you hide that.
If I click on the network tab and.
Yeah, you're on it. It's just this console is in the way.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that. Right. If I do my query 2. There we are. I'm going to look at the request. Okay, and the response was just saying error. And
The only difference, I think, is that it has a query in front of it. It has the word query.
it has the word query.
Yeah, which is what you're supposed to do, I think.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure it. Let's try and go from nothing then. Let's just see whether that. So let's try something that we know works, like ID. That works, and saying query. That works. My query. That works. So I think it was just. I mean, we could have a look at that. That error was.
Oh, do you think it's because of new lines? If you had a return.
Oh, that's possible.
No, after my query.
Oh, I see there. No, I don't think it is because of that. But,
Okay.
but I wonder if it's having 2 queries. Yeah, I think maybe it doesn't like.
But what is different about the request if you look at like the last 2 requests? Because one of those was fine and one of them wasn't. What is the actual body of those requests?
Oh, the body of the request is this.
Yeah.
And
No, I don't think it is though.
Oh.
If you look at the last 2.
Right, this one here.
Yeah.
And then look at the request. The body. No, it looks.
And then look at the one above it because that one was fine. I mean, they look basically the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, we could.
Oh wait. Yeah, that one does have both of them.
Yeah, that one does have both.
So, yeah, maybe you're supposed to do something to support this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just a.
I don't think this is site's fault.
No, this is probably. This looks like it's this right-hand side. I think this is a parse. Oh no, actually, that is a crux issue. If we went and looked at the, if we go on to the, I know this is a bit naughty, but if we went into look at the journal here, we're getting, oh, the operation name required.
But it did. You were passing operation name in. That definitely was in there.
Having a look here. Oh, look, this is the big query coming in. No, I mean this is I think it's just something I need to plug in. It could be that I need to test this. So we took that and put it into the new test suite. So the query can be like that. We run that. Operation name required. Look, see.
Yeah, but you don't have. You need to pass the operation name as a parameter then.
Ah, yes.
Like the request was already doing that, but you need in your test to do that too.
I think it's because the operation name comes out of the like I mean I know that there is a to-do somewhere that says get operation name and use it here.
Ah,
So
right,
I
yeah.
think the fact that there's a to-do there is evidence that I haven't done it. But I'm glad that comment is correct. But that's right. The query will, you know, when you have a choice, when you're executing a request, let operation be that, you know, you've got to know what the operation name is here. And I'm just not, in execute request, I'm just not putting operation name in there, you can see. So really, I ought to do the operation name, and then we can perhaps put, we can make that query have, and then I would have to have operation name in here, and then we would have to pull it out of the JSON, which is here. So document str gets turned in. Document str is, oh, this is really, that's not, no, this is,
Yeah, you can just get it out of the body, right?
yeah, yeah, okay. So in the case that it's application JSON, I'm
Select.
struggling to read my own code here. I don't know what that unknown content type is, what it's doing there, really, because it doesn't feel like it belongs there. It feels like it belongs there. But in the case that it's the
How is the document str used?
well, document str is down here. It's the thing that's parsed. It's so it's the whole query document.
Yeah, so I don't think you want to put anything else in it. I think what you want to do is down where your comment is about the operation name,
Yeah.
where you're passing it through, instead of writing operation name, just do like a get in body. Maybe you want that body JSON read value to be let to
Well,
something.
that's it. You know, the thing is that this guy has to this is reads the whole thing, and then we have to say, okay, well, we've got to return the get query, and I think it's called operation name, like this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in camel case. Yeah.
So that's that one done, and then in the case that it's just GraphQL, I think we could say, well, you know, we assume that it's called query because that is the default. Although, you know, arguably, there's probably a reason why you're not allowed to just send GraphQL. There is a MIME type or media type registered for this, but okay. And then so now we have operation name defined. We should be able to put it in there, and it's pretty wonky code up here. This is the the probably should be done lower down. But anyway, but do you know that this is a map to application JSON? There's a whole stuff in the GraphQL spec about how you take the results of a query and map, serialize as JSON, because there are potentially other serialization formats you can serialize to, like Eden or YAML or something like that, CSV. But there are rules for how enums, for example, get rendered in JSON. But anyway, should we give that a go? So we need to deploy that. But what I'll do is just run my test again, see if that. Oh, now we're getting the back. We're not putting the operation name in, so we'll call it my query 2, and then no operation name required. That's probably yeah. Operation name is there.
Maybe it's not camel case. I don't really know.
Yeah, maybe it's not camel case. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Okay, and then that's how it was sort of implicitly. Yeah, thanks for that. All right, work. Back in business. So if we go and let's do a quick deploy of that. So a whole bunch of things that we want to add here, Alex. Do we want to check in the graph? We want to check in the package and the yarn log.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pop those two in there, and also deletion. I'll put that in a separate commit, and we've got some.
Yeah, those are separate.
Yeah, these are definitely separate. So these basically fix up Graph Iql resources, delete original Graph Iql index. Sorry about the font size of it, and then we'll just. I think we can pop that in here. So pull out operation name from GraphQL request and use. Okay, so we'll just pop that up to Git. We'll pull it down from here. Restart the server. I'm not sure how have you seen behind the curtain of the production server, Alex, but it's got a red font. That's how I know it's production.
Good.
I can monitor to see how it's doing. It is just systemd package called site. Well, I can't really show it, but I can show it popping up now.
Yeah, we just have to never hire colorblind people.
No, that's true. Well, because they would be very risky bringing.
Yeah, they wouldn't know if they were in production or not.
Yeah. Well, here we are. I need to turn tracing off in production at some point. Anyway. All right. We're almost there. I think we're. Oh, it says system started and ready. So here we are. It's here. We have to log in again because we have. See if I can remember how that's done. Site pass. Memory for these things isn't right. So if I do home now. Okay, now we're ready for your my query. Yay, that worked. And my too. Fantastic.
They're both the same thing, so kind of difficult to tell. But
so how would I update that? Does it let me know?
Yeah, I think it's because
Oh, you're going to add one like that. Oh, right. Let's just run that guy. myQuery 2. Well, that one definitely could be. It's funny, isn't it? What's going on when I? What do we do when we? That's definitely sending in a request.
It's a 400 this time, though.
It might. Yeah, that is usually an indicator.
Oh, do you think it's because of that type name placeholder value thing?
Well, type name should be okay, but maybe it's not. It could be the no.
As in, try adding like in the left-hand side in the Explorer, or I don't know.
Oh, I see in here. Just add in
something
or something. Yeah, that's working. So it could be that type name. I think we went back and put it, made that. What's it? Was it underscore type name?
Yeah.
And that was, so now if we take that and we put that into our test suite, and we see how that works. Yay, we've got, or failed to, yeah, here we are. Field. I think what happens is that this error from GraphQL is probably just not rendered, it's swallowed up, possibly.
Yeah. Also, if you execute myQuery 2 and myQuery 1 has a syntax error, it won't get to myQuery 2, right? Because you drop out before then. I don't know if that's intended or not.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's because the query didn't compile, and I'm not actually checking anywhere that it hasn't compiled, and therefore, yeah, we just need to have a look at the error handling. Well, I'll go and have a look at that. But it may be that I'm trying to run a query that hasn't compiled properly and I haven't checked the errors, or it could be something else. But the idea with GraphQL is that you have messages and you have the ability to return errors, and you can have multiple errors and you kind of group them by error type. So it's pretty good actually, the error handling, but I just need to connect the dots. The grab library does do this kind of, doesn't fail at the first hurdle. It gathers all the errors together, but then it's meant to present them as a nice JSON blob, which we're not doing. But
yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of an edge case because I don't think anyone will actually ever want to query type name. But,
all right. Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for this afternoon. But thanks very much, Alex, for that guided tour of the GraphiQL console. So sounds like a lot of fun, and editing making it better. Can you change the colors? Could we make them orange?
yeah, I think so.
Or maybe,
I think the whole thing is themable, so
maybe we can style it up with a few an XT logo or something like that. All right. Well, thanks very much for any of you on Twitch that have been watching. Sorry, we haven't again not looked at the questions that might have been raised. We'll get some sort of OBS plugin for that, I think, at some point. And thanks if you've been watching this on YouTube and following along. Do send in any comments or questions you might have, and we'll talk soon. Thanks very much. Bye, everybody.